Hello, my name is Monica Hockenbrock, and I will be doing a presentation on autism and yoga. The objectives for my presentation are to kind of find out really what is yoga. I mean, I've taken yoga before, but I did learn some things through this presentation, different forms and things of yoga. Also, how can yoga be used as a CAM, which is a complementary and alternative medicine? And how does yoga benefit individuals with ASD? And also programs that are used with individuals with ASD. And also attached with this presentation, there is a worksheet. There's a kind of before presentation question, a few questions during, and then some final thoughts with that worksheet. Some facts that I found through my research about autism are that they affect 1 out of 68 children presently. The worldwide prevalence is 1%. The males are affected 4 to 5 times more than the females. And this next one I found interesting. The estimated lifetime cost of an individual with ASD is $1.4 million. And through all the different articles, the two major deficits are social communication and restrictive repetitive behaviors or interests. Students with ASD often are at risk for other health issues, comorbidity. And through this whole presentation, and probably as most of you have seen, ASD is autism spectrum disorder. I will just be using the initials for it. And up to 80% suffer from sleep and gastrointestinal issues. And this is McLeod in 2015. Next, I wanted to talk about some general ASD interventions. We're not going to jump right into yoga, but I thought this kind of led us into it. Some treatments for ASD, or a lot of these individuals need to be taught coping strategies, which helps reduce stress and sensory processing difficulties. Most of these treatments currently deal with behavior, communication interventions, dietary changes, medication, and complementary and alternative medicines. Some of the traditional treatments that and we do in schools is a lot of sensory integration. And as you can see, most of those treatments are kind of what is done today. Yoga is kind of taking it into a different path, as we'll see. Also, another treatment used is ABA, Applied Behavior Analysis. And that's also sometimes used in conjunction with early intensive intervention. The earlier we get these students in different resources, the better chance their communication skills and coping skills turn out. What is CAM? I kind of read about it a little bit in the objectives. It stands for Complementary and Alternative Medicine. It's different than going to the doctor and getting medicine that way. It's kind of a more holistic approach is kind of what I got from it. And it covers many different interventions, beliefs, and ideas on how to address different ways to look at disorders or illnesses and to promote your health and vitality. And these interventions are often used in place of traditional medicine, which a lot of people are kind of going to now because a lot of the medicines have lasting side effects. So they're looking for alternative medicine to help their students or their children. CAM and autism. Families with ASD have tried an average of 7 treatments, with 28% of those being CAM. So CAM is kind of growing in popularity. It's still not the main resource for individuals with autism. It's also, I found in the one article, that it is more common among higher class Caucasian families. And that CAM actually, there's not a whole lot of scientific research, and partially that is due to the fact that it's a more holistic approach, and it's more controversial method. Some people I don't think agree with that because they're going more the biomedical route. And also with CAM, elimination diets or special diets come up as the most popular in some of the articles that I found. The next 2 or 3 slides goes through different types of CAM that is used for autism. First, we have dance therapy, then acupuncture. And for acupuncture, the needles can give off electricity. They could be laser or they could give off heat. And that helps with stress and different sensory outputs. Another one is massage, which helps deal with sensory issues and reduction of anxiety. There's also yoga, which increases the GABA brain waves, which helps reduce stress and hyperactivity and different sensory issues. There's also pet therapy, where individuals go places where there are pets or pets come to them. There's also chiropractic care, which I saw in one of my articles was one of the more popular and widely used types of CAM. And also along the CAM, there are some biologically based interventions, and kind of like I mentioned before, dietary changes. I know when I was reading some of it, like the gluten free, uh, different taking out different foods. I know the red dyes are a big thing. Kind of just making changes there. They also mentioned vitamins, omega 3s, probiotics, and herbal remedies. Which again, a lot of these don't have the research based, so there's not quite as much information. Also, music therapy is used for different a lot of different disorders or children on the spectrum. They also mentioned auditory integration training, which helps improve an individual's ability to process sound. And then there's sensory integration therapy, where play is used to explore the different senses to kind of help with that sensory integration, because that is so difficult for students on the autism spectrum. And here they explore sight, sound, touch, and movement. And drama therapy can foster development of social skills, but I did read that it isn't one of the more popular because of the social interaction. It's difficult for a lot of individuals on the autism spectrum. What I did find about CAM as a treatment therapy, what there's a lack of scientific data for use with ASD individuals, and kind of like I said before, kind of it's a natural or a homeopathic remedy. Like it's not quite as established in the medical community. A lot of them are safe, but there have been really no long-term longitudinal studies. And what we had said before, there's the biological side, which is gluten, casein free, omega 3, vitamins, hyperbaric oxygen. Those are the only ones that really have any studies done to them. But again, there's really not any longitudinal studies. And then on the non biological CAM side, music therapy, auditory integration training, sensory integration therapy, acupuncture, and massage. They're really the ones out of that list that have any data or people have researched them a little bit more. So kind of moving along, we're going to kind of get into the yoga then, but because yoga is a physical activity, I kind of wanted to just touch on the importance of physical activity in ASD individuals. When I was doing some of my research, as a lot of our special needs students are, they're at a higher risk for childhood obesity and really adulthood obesity. And it's often due to their lack of desire to be physically active. But as we've learned in some of our other classes, they don't have access to the different places, they don't feel comfortable, activities are not suited for them. So that often, I think, feeds into that as well, along with the lack of desire. The Center for Disease Control recommends 60 minutes of PA physical activity for children. And they have said that this physical activity helps with improved cognition, self-regulation, attention span, and social emotional functioning. And it also reduces irritability, withdrawal, and hyperactivity. And also at the bottom there, it also increases more complex speech patterns. And this came from Nivola 2017. Now we saw that physical activity definitely has a basis for helping. I did even see a lot of the studies aren't quite there with the yoga, but I mean, just physical activity in general improves all those things. And yoga is beneficial as a CAM. So before I started, I wanted to find out a little bit more about yoga. I mean, I've seen it, I've heard it, I know a little bit, but I kind of wanted to just see like, where did this come from? I know it's been around forever, but it's actually known as a spiritual discipline between the body and mind. And yoga comes from, and I'm sorry, I'm going to butcher all these names for the rest of the presentation, Sanskrit root for juj, which means to join or unite. So yoga basically means to join and unite your body and mind. It's said to lead to the harmony between the man and nature. And it's Dr. Ishwar states that is the process of oneness with existence in order to achieve a state of freedom known as mukati, or basically coming to a state of nirvana or peace between your mind and body. The one article I found, it dates back to 2700 BC, so definitely been around a long time. And this article says it has started with Adiyogi centuries ago, and he told others of his knowledge of this kind of mind and body process, and then they carried it to his teachings around the world. So he was kind of spread the word and started the yoga. And what I did find interesting, it doesn't represent any one belief, religion, or thought process. It's basically just becoming one with yourself. In this yoga process, it's used to instill an inner well-being in the individuals who practice it. So what I have now is a video that kind of shows how yoga can be used with students with autism.
Autism is the fastest growing developmental disability in America, increasing in prevalence since the year 2000 by nearly 120%.
And as that number grows, the race is on for schools to find increasingly effective tools to help children deal with the disorder. One of those tools has turned out to be yoga. 11-year-old Ethan Muffaletto has autism. His verbal language is limited, and even the slightest change in routine, like our TV camera, can disrupt his entire morning.
The overwhelmingness of coming off the bus and getting into a building and going into the cafeteria, and it's all very, very high tense for him. And he has a lot of high sensory needs as well.
But now there's something that's making a difference in how Ethan feels and behaves, both in and out of his Bronx classroom. A yoga therapy program called Get Ready to Learn uses a 17-minute video each morning before class to teach students on the autism spectrum from moderate to severe to high functioning.
We have kids coming in who have undergone so much stress just from the school ride and the transition up, not to mention whatever might be going on at home.
Ann Buckley-Reen launched the program following feedback from a 6-week pilot program in 20 New York City classrooms. For students like Ethan, the session is a chance to prepare for the day.
The first change is that you feel total peace. Your brain is quiet. You feel very calm inside. You might not even recognize that you're carrying stress, but once that stress is gone, there's just a sense of safety.
In a classroom that always includes trained on-site facilitators, the video shows Anne demonstrating a series of poses to soothing music.
Many of our students arrive at school in fight, fright, or flight. And what happens when students or adults are in this state is that the thinking part of the brain isn't working. The ears aren't listening, even though you don't have hearing problems, and you are unable to hold new information in memory.
But this yoga program plays to their strengths with repetition, structure, routine, and a visual model.
After 6 weeks of the program, 40% of the parents reported that their children were sleeping through the night. Parents were noticing changes in eating habits. From students that were mono eaters, their children were beginning to speak. And we had so many students that began to speak that first year.
Now, after 3 years, it's making all the difference for Ethan and his mother.
His behavior has improved. There's a sense of calmness that he has, especially now in the mornings. His attention span has blown my mind, let's put it that way.
Now in 12 states, 3 countries, and 600 New York City public schools, therapeutic yoga just may be a way for students on the spectrum to reach maximum peace and potential.
1 in 68 children have actually been diagnosed with this, and they're saying that there have actually been a spike in autism diagnosis, so this could help so many people.
That's a great story. I mean, we have all, for years, certainly in this business, done so many stories, and just the impact that autism has on families, children in particular, but the parents. It is just, frankly, scary these days, and people can't really explain it. It's one of those things. But this possible relief, and thanks to our Jisoo Park, who's been here with us for the past 3 months. Today's actually her last day. She's one of our, what do we call her? Superstar producer, an up-and-comer. What do we call her?
That's the title.
She's a fellow. That's what I'm told. But she found that story for us.
Great piece, Jisoo, and good luck.
as you can see there, there's definitely kind of as we move into the autism and the yoga piece, you can definitely see that parents have noticed some differences, and we'll kind of talk a little bit more about that in the next coming few slides here. All right, some facts I found about yoga. Today, it's practiced by about 20.4 million people in the United States, and it has been shown to improve or help with multiple health issues such as Parkinson's, coronary disease, chronic pain, and cancer. So it's definitely proven to kind of help with some of these ailments. And what I found interesting, I honestly didn't, I thought yoga was yoga. There's all these different kinds. I'm not going to read through all of them. There's yama, and then nijama, and then asana, and pranama. And I'm sorry, I'm totally butchering the names. But I marked the two with the asterisks there on this slide. They're actually the two that came up the most in, or have been done with the most studies of children as helping children with autism. There's also a few more, there's two more that have some studies have used, but these are the two that seem to pop up. And anasa is poses, and prayama is the breathing, which totally makes sense, and we'll kind of get into that a little bit more. There's also some different classifications of yoga. There's karma yoga, which is using the body. There's hakati yoga, which uses your emotions. The Jnana yoga, which is mind and intellect. And the kriya yoga, which uses your own energy. I just thought it was interesting. There's definitely a lot more to yoga than I actually ever knew. I did find an article. Aspire talked about 4 main benefits of yoga and the ASD individual. And they said with yoga, from what they have seen, that it helps with the development of their coping skills. It leads to increased motor skills. It enhances their self-regulation and also helps with sensory integration. And we'll kind of talk a little bit more about how that happens. As I said before, there are more benefits with asana, the poses, and pranayama, the breathing technique practices. That one has shown in the studies that I have read and that are out there that is the most beneficial. They often use simple ujjayi breath, which is kind of where you just a small exhale, inhale and exhale on a 1 to 2 basis, and just a simple breathing to kind of calm your body. And then some incorporate pranayama, balancing, and drishti, which is your gaze. And why is yoga used for the ASD individual? Oftentimes, as a lot of us know, kind of doing this autism, looking in and studying it, that a lot of individuals with autism have poor eye contact, the repetitive behaviors, the rigidity, the attention deficit, their sensory integration, their motor cognitive issues. They oftentimes are very stressed and have anxiety if things change. They also have sleep and gastrointestinal problems, and sometimes a lot of that can lead to behavior problems. And what has been found is yoga kind of helps take those things that are in the forefront and kind of calm them down, is what I kind of came to the conclusion with a lot of this. Yoga's used, it's more cost effective. And also, too, the side effects are different. It's a lot of the individuals with autism are put on medication, and this is a way where it's a different mode than just going the medication route. It focuses on the mind and the body approach, and it can be practices both as a group, small group yoga interventions, or in individual sessions, which I will actually find later that the individual sessions actually seemed more beneficial for some of these autism spectrum individuals. And kind of going along with this, there's 2 in my studies, and the one was on the video we just saw, 2 kind of yoga programs that have been used with autism spectrum individuals. One is Get Ready to Learn, like I said, the video we just saw. And this one was designed by an OT and a yoga instructor. And this one uses the postures, the breathing, and the relaxation. And I thought it was interesting. It kind of breaks down their program. 8 minutes of postures, 3 minutes of weight-bearing poses, 3 minutes of deep breathing, 3 minutes of muscle tension and release, and it ends for the younger children with a circle of song. And they have definitely seen some benefits for individuals. The other one that came up in the one study, but they only this is a curriculum, but it was only the study I found. It was only used with one individual, but I thought it had some relevance with using yoga, but I wanted to include it. And this is a multidisciplinary approach to yoga, and it claims to teach coping strategies, alleviate stress, and improve sensory processing issues. And this yoga curriculum, which you can actually look up online, includes 9 lessons with breathing, posture, physical movement, vocalization, emotional recognition, and relaxation. And this was created by Tara Delago Bridges. So now we're going to kind of get into, we talked about, I showed you the video, and they talked about some of the benefits. There definitely are. Their parents and teachers and therapists have seen improvements in students. There's better and uninterrupted sleep. They're sleeping better at night. The gastrointestinal problems, which I said were a lot of individuals have, are better. They increase the imitating and the sensory integration, because if you think about it, you have to copy the pose, and you're moving your body in different positions. So that does help with the imitating. Body awareness and balance, again, the same thing. You're doing the poses, holding them. It definitely, after practice, would help with that. There's also improved attention span and concentration. And the one study I found, it says as time on task increases, I thought this was interesting, their self-stim behaviors were seen to decrease in the one study. Also, the coping skills with the breathing, different kind of the meditation kind of helps with that. They also noticed decreased anxiety, aggression, and self-stim, kind of what I said on that last one. They're connecting with others, and the one study I read that they would actually start talking more, like they were kind of copying what the yoga instructor did, but they were interacting with others. Their personal strength from doing the poses, and the calmness and eye contact, and then the relaxation. Some other benefits, it helps with their need for routine and repetition. Kind of when you go in, you take off your shoes, you get your mat, like it's very structured, which a lot of individuals with ASD really benefit from that structure. As the rules, the boundaries. It also improves their tactile awareness, and also an increase in their vocabulary and spontaneous commentary. When I was doing this, I found some variations of yoga therapy. The first one was integrated movement therapy, and this is for individuals or group. It's a therapeutic approach that combines speech and language, counseling, and yoga. It's not just yoga. They bring in some other people to help. It's taught by a master degree therapist and yoga instructor. It has been used, and there's been data gathered with students with ADHD, learning disabilities, PDD, developmental delays, sensory integration, and dyspraxia. And now it has been beneficial with autism spectrum. And this integrated movement therapy has 6 principles. There's structure and continuity, social interaction, language stimulation, self-calming, physical stimulation, and building self-esteem. I just thought it was a different way to kind of just, instead of just doing yoga, kind of incorporate it with some other therapeutic means. Now, based on this, yoga, we saw that it obviously can be beneficial, but there is not enough research to empirically say that yoga is an effective intervention. There's studies, there's research, but it's not like medically based. Everything I said, there wasn't enough research. There's no longitudinal studies. A lot of the data does not look at the comorbidity in ASD individuals, doesn't take into account other things that might be going on. And then something that came up too is more research needs to be done if the location of the yoga has an impact, is if it's done in a studio versus a school or clinical, does that change it? Many times these studies were done in conjunction with pharmaceutical and or behavior mods, so it's kind of a combination effect. It's not just yoga. So, but that also needs to be taken into account. They are on medication, or there are other modifications playing into the yoga, and that could affect the outcomes of the studies. Simply put, there's not enough studies done to quantify yoga's effectiveness. I mean, you can definitely see from the videos and from stuff I've seen, just my own students doing yoga, and a lot of them, they're developmentally delayed and some of them have autism, it gives them calming strategies. I definitely think it's a huge benefit for our autism spectrum individuals. I just hope as we continue to kind of go this route with the holistic medicine and different approaches that they'll be able to kind of do some more research and prove even more so that it definitely has a place. But I definitely think, and actually, I'm working with my physical therapist in OT next year, and we're going to do some yoga in my room. She went to a seminar, so I definitely think there's a place for it in the classroom. It's just definitely getting that data to help prove that along the way. Well, as you can see, this was my presentation on yoga. I'm Monica Hockenbrock. Here are my references, and please take time then to finish just answering some of the questions. I think there's 3 or 4 on there for you. All right, thank you.